if you've come to my training before, then you know that I usually use slides. I'm not going to use slides today because we're talking about LinkedIn, and I want to go into LinkedIn and just show you real world what I do and guide you through. I don't want some beautiful, perfect slides that show you LinkedIn. I want to show you some of the bumps and hurdles I go through. I like to describe it, you can think about a maze. If I'm walking through a maze, you don't just go from the beginning to the end. You have to kind of sometimes go this way and hit a wall, and you come back this way and hit another wall. And it's there's no big deal, right? You just turn around and you retrace your steps a little bit and you try a different option. Well, when I go into LinkedIn, I want you to see that as well. I am one of the most experienced people out there, certainly one of the very most experienced people in LinkedIn and government contracting. I'm not bragging. What I'm saying is I use it as a regular tool as part of my business. I've been using it almost since 2007, I think, very heavily in 2007. And certainly for the last 8 years, I've been using it to the point where I'm at 4 and 5 million views on my content every year. That's a lot of views on my content. And it happens not just because I'm posting something viral that looks great and people come in, but it's because of this engagement I'm going to teach you. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. And I'm not going to use slides. I'm just going to go right into LinkedIn and show you. If you don't know who I am, my name is Neil McDonnell. I'm the president of the GovCon Chamber of Commerce, and I am the co-founder of GovCon in a Box, which we'll show you in a little bit. And I want to welcome you to my federal sales training, where I provide tips for success in the federal market. I had a small business, 2 small businesses myself in the federal market for the last 20 years, or for 20 years. This is 2018. I've been teaching people like you that government contracting is not a secret. It's just a process. When we follow a process A to Z, we're going to have repeatable, predictable results. And that's what I want for you. Even with LinkedIn, what I'm going to show you today and talk to you about it, you can have predictable results from your engagement or your activity on LinkedIn. And so we'll dive into that as we go forward. If you haven't done so already, make sure you come over and connect with me on LinkedIn. I see some people coming in from YouTube and other places. Come over here. Yes, you can watch our training live over on YouTube, but only over in LinkedIn can you actually engage with other people. I'm actually looking at Chris, you're over on YouTube, but right above you on the chat, and I don't know if you can see the chat, but right above you is David Waltz, who's one of the federal buyers. He comes in, he's trying to communicate what the Navy's trying to buy, looking at small businesses to see if he might want to engage some, but you can do that here on LinkedIn. You can't really do it on YouTube or Twitter or anywhere else. So come on over. And then for everybody, make sure you're subscribed to my newsletter, Government Contracting Success Newsletter. In there, we just put out a lot of great content that helps you as a small business. And the last thing is I just want to thank I want to thank you, not whoever, you for registering for training. If you did, we had well over 100 people register for training. We've got one more training for tomorrow that you can come back and take a look at. It's related to teammates. But register for training, because when you do, LinkedIn pushes the word out to more people and we grow our community. When we grow our community, we have so many more options available to us. Okay, I'm going to switch over here. Let me share my screen. And before we go too much farther, I just wanted to share one quick shout out for, this is GovCon in a Box. It's a whole tool set that we're bringing to small businesses. And one of the tools in here is this ability to find teammates, small business teammates. And the part I wanted to share, there's a lot of filters on the left-hand side to filter down these 360,000 small businesses. But the one I want to highlight right here is the visibility score, where I can take it and drag it to 100 and search. And there are 26 companies in here that are that have 100 score, or a visibility score of 100. What this means is that their profile is the most visible it can be to federal buyers. So when federal buyers are looking for companies like yours, if your visibility score is 100, that means the likelihood of you being found is really good. And perhaps it's also really good that you'll be able to be selected to a short list. You'll see tomorrow, if you come back to another training, I'll list these people out. But I wanted to welcome, since I just noticed, GD Resources is our newest business on the thread. There's another one in here. I got to find them really quick. But GD Resources on there, and they just joined it. And let me see if I can figure out the other one really quick. Oh, right here. Addiction Studio Limited, or so LLC, right? Addiction Studio. I want to welcome these two companies to the 100 Club. It means they got their score to the 100 level. All right, let me research that, or reset the filter. And let's go diving into, I'm sorry. I want to back up 1 second. Let me stop sharing my screen for 1 second. I want to make sure you understand the difference between social selling and networking in person, right? There's these two options you have available to you. Yesterday, if you happen to be at my training, I was teaching about the Navy Gold Coast event and what to do in preparation of going to that event to make sure you have the most success at an in-person networking event, this big conference. But I don't like conferences and I don't like matchmaking sessions. I certainly don't like them for networking. I actually like conferences for learning things I don't know that I don't know. If that makes sense, right? So I can go there and maybe attend some sessions where I get some information. I'm like, oh, I hadn't even thought of that. Or maybe I can go there and I'm just casually seeing if I can meet random people. But if I know that I want to network into the Navy or network into the Army or Department of Education, if I know I want to get in there and meet potential buyers, whether it's small business pros, the acquisition professionals, or the program office professionals, if I already know that, I don't have to go to a conference to meet those people. Literally, I just said that we've got David Waltz in here, right? So, hey, David, thank you. He said, David's saying right there, this is why I love this training. I met with many companies because of your events. And thanks, and right back at you, David. I really appreciate you coming here. But he goes to conferences. But because he's also here in these trainings, this virtual way of doing networking, he's able to meet a lot more. And he just comes back 30 minutes. I don't know. I haven't asked him, but I can imagine he's coming in with his lunch and his coffee or something and attending the training, and he's getting a lot of traction. And so for you, it's the same thing. When you think about social selling, where can you go? So David's got it made because I'm doing this event every single day. He's trying to reach small businesses. And here's me out there saying, hey, small businesses, come in and get trained and network with people. Well, it's kind of ideal for him. But for you, that's good for teammates, but it's not as good to meet federal buyers. LinkedIn is a great way to meet federal buyers. And because LinkedIn is social media, we call it social selling. And so social selling is just maximizing your use of the social media platforms. In the federal market, LinkedIn is the platform of choice. Twitter's where you go to complain about politics. Facebook is grandma and cats, and I don't know what else is out there. TikTok is cool, but it's not in the federal space because they're still trying to decide, do we ban it or not ban it? LinkedIn is the professional network. It is the best place to go to try to network with federal buyers. So in any particular role, so a person, if they work for the government, they're basically a federal buyer. Their influences changes, right? The contracting officer has very high influence. But inside of here, what I really want to make sure I'm pointing out as we go into today's training and I walk into LinkedIn, I'm not here to try to help you share your content, etc. What I'm trying to do is help you identify people you can network with and build a relationship there. So anyways, just a quick balance between in-person and external. Okay, so let me share my screen again and come back to GovCon in a box. By the way, if you're a small business and you haven't checked your score out, go in and check it out. It's not a proprietary set of data. The data is coming from SAM and DSBS. We just tell you exactly what you need to do to get yourself squared away. You don't have to pay anybody for that. All right, so let's go into LinkedIn. If you're not familiar with LinkedIn, how did you get here? Okay, well, Juliet Fletcher, let me give a shout out to her. She's a friend I've never met, but we're friends on LinkedIn where she's part of my social network. I am part of her social network. Her company does proposal writing, right? They help you write to win, or they write so that you can win. But I'm right here. I'm able to look at this. I don't particularly engage with pictures like this, but it's a perfect place for me to stop for 1 second. LinkedIn is about engaging with content so that first off, you can contribute. And I'm going to engage with this content probably in 1 second, but it's engaging with content. So I'm maintaining my relationship with Juliet. In fact, what I'm really doing is I'm supporting what she says because I have discovered she and I kind of are this yin and the yang of sales and proposal writing. And we align a lot on our thinkings. And so I like seeing what she writes and I take it from a sales perspective. The other thing though, is when I do engage, her network now sees maybe what I wrote. So now because I'm on her post, I'm getting exposed to her network. It's the same thing when she's on mine, she engages on my post, my 32,000 connections are able to see what she's saying. And it's just this constant little exposure over weeks, months, even years, where people begin to know you. You'll love it, and you'll know you've done the job right when people say, I've been following you or seeing you on LinkedIn for months, and I felt like reaching out. How come you didn't reach out sooner? Doesn't matter. All right, so let's look at her stuff really quick. This is one way to engage. I'm just going to start here because it's a feed. Here, Juliet's writing about brevity. I'm assuming she's talking about in her proposals. So here, concise and exact use of words in writing or speech. She's doing some things. Complicate your message. So here you go. If you complicate your message and hijack your reader's attention. Got it. What she's saying, and I would spend far more time relaxed reading her thing if I wasn't training you. But what I'm saying is if you're overstating, or she's saying, overstating, over-explaining, overwriting, you're complicating your message, hijacking your readers. I'm going to jump down really quick because I just want to remember this. Let me put it in here. We call that friction. That friction. You need to keep the friction out of. You need to keep friction until you see me do this live. You need to keep friction. I'm trying to say not between you and the buyer. Away from you and the buyer. So let's just leave it there for a second. And she's my friend, so she'll be okay with me doing a short comment. I put really well thought out comments, but what I would do is look at this, and I'm trying to tie this together. For me, because I do sales, I would sit there and say that this is what we're doing, but she's giving us guidance, right? And so when you're engaging, this is one way. When you're doing social selling, it literally is stopping where somebody is talking about this and engaging it. You want to minimize your engagement with fluff content, but Juliet's content is really clear. If we take the time to read it, it's really straightforward, right? And she's always trying to give us calm with the picture. But so one way I engaged with her was giving a comment, right? And this is a perfect time for me to just talk about the different ways you can engage. Another way is, you see how I hit the like, but I also have the ability to celebrate it. I'm like, yes, right? I wish I had the prayer ones, because for me, it's like, oh, thank you. That's what that means. But here, I'm supporting you with this one. Hey, I'm sending out support to you. You love whatever they're doing, and sometimes we just love what you're saying. Yes, that's perfect. I really like insightful and funny as the last one. But what I want you to keep in mind is everybody hits the thumbs up. If you took 2 seconds, if what she said was actually really insightful, I could put that. And now I'm separated perhaps from other people who have commented. So if she's in here, turns out I'm not the only one who did insightful. Who else thinks this is insightful, right? There's Shauna Weatherly. She's in our community. A couple of other people, I'm not familiar with them, but they're out there. But you can see LinkedIn shows you the different engagements. As you move forward and you're doing more engagements, and you think about it this way, you're really able to build connections. Okay, a couple other ways you can engage with this one piece of content, and then I'm going to move on to searching for buyers. I already commented. I already gave it a like or an insightful in this case. You can repost it. So in this case, when you repost, this is a really important lesson I want you to stop and understand. If you repost with thoughts, you're trying to and I say this very softly, you're accidentally hijacking Juliet's post and turning it into your own. And what happens is LinkedIn severs any of the activity that is happening on her post, and now is basically putting it out there. Now, Juliet's fine with you doing that because it's great. You're sharing her post out there, but you've severed the connection back to the main post, this post, compared to if you do repost instantly Juliet's post to others. What happens is it goes on your feed. And actually, let me just do it really quick, right? It will go on your feed. And let me show you really quick right here. So it says Neil reposted this thought. And what happens is no one can give it a thumbs up from my side. Look at the difference. No offense to this other person, right? But this other person reposted it by severing the content. They didn't mean to, but that's what happens. So now there's only one engagement, and it's just sitting out there, but it's their post. And so my point is, if you want to support somebody's content, you can give it a comment, you can reshare it. But when you repost it, then all the engagement stays together. Anybody on your network who engages it It's actually engaging Juliets, and it's a very good way to do social networking or engagement. Okay, so that's the last. Those are the ways you can do the engagement on it. One other thing I want to show you, as long as I'm in the feed really quick, I liked that Juliet's was the first one that came up. It's relevant. I want her in my post. I can't do anything about promoted. LinkedIn drops that in. But as I come down, I'm looking for different things. This looks fine because that's 𝗏𝗏𝗡. Alexa's fine. She's always got great content. I'm skipping down to one that maybe isn't what I want. Hopefully it's not a bad thing. So the Rich, he's great. He's always sharing content. Alicia, well, okay, so one of the things you can see is my content so far, I'm scrolling down, it all looks good. If you scroll down, like, I don't know what this is, and I don't mean anything against these people. Actually, let me come up and give a little more focus to Rich, because he's solid, right? But if I didn't like Rich's content in my feed, right? I like Rich, but I don't like his content. It really isn't relevant to me because he's talking about stuff I don't care about. Well, I can go to these three dots, and I can sit there and say, unfollow Rich, which I'm not going to do, right? But I could say unfollow. I'm not breaking connection, but I no longer will get Rich's content in my feed. This is important for you to do as you come back to LinkedIn on a regular basis. If you do this unfollowing, no bad blood, just unfollowing, then you will start seeing only relevant content in your feed, like I just did, where I was scrolling down. In this case, I don't want to do Rich's because he's good. He puts out great stuff, and I am going to give him a thumbs up. Okay, so that was different ways of engaging and tracking on your feed. Let me come back to the next thing I want to show you, and this is about federal buyers that are out there. I'm not here to talk about teammates. You can find them in here, but there's two types of federal buyers. There are federal buyers who are engaged on LinkedIn, like David Waltz, and there are federal buyers who are on LinkedIn, but they're not on LinkedIn, right? And there's a lot of us who maybe are on LinkedIn, but not on LinkedIn. And so what I'm looking for today, what I want to show you is we only want to find the federal buyers who are like David, that I can follow his stuff and then I can engage, and maybe I can then get a meeting out of it and I can go in. But I don't want to find Sally, who has a profile, but she never even tracks LinkedIn, because I'll be wasting my effort trying to engage her on LinkedIn. I'd be better if I just found her and picked up a phone and called her. So let's start with one of my favorite ways to search. And so I'm going to give you different tips, as many as I can. But the first thing I do when I search is I don't type anything in. Here's a first method. Come up here to search and just hit enter, right? When I hit enter, I just get everything that's here. And so the first thing I want to kind of do is I want to look for posts that are in here. And I'm gonna start filtering these down. I'm looking for posts. I actually want to look for posts. Let's just say for me, last 24 hours, show results. And I'm going to start whittling it down until I find some of the stuff I'm looking for. By the way, I'm looking for posts because if somebody wrote a post, then maybe it's worthwhile for me to go look at their profile and follow them. Instead of me searching for everybody who works in the Navy, how about I find people who are in the Navy who have shared a post? And so let me just type in Navy for 1 second. So now I'm looking at posts with a keyword of Navy in the last 24 hours. And I'm going to try to go one more level down here and say the content type I want to see are documents. What I would like to see, it's something I share a lot of, right? PDFs or PowerPoints or something. I want to see people who have uploaded something that I might be able to engage with further because I am trying to engage. So I'm going to say, show me documents related to the Navy in the past 24 hours. I'm surprised I even got one. Well, this is perfect now, right? So the first thing I'm seeing is I got this guy, Michael, and he looks like he's got a uniform on. And so I'm going to just click on it really quick. But Director of Talent Acquisition, if you do staffing or workforce development, that might catch your attention right away. So I'm going to go look and see what he does. He's in the Navy in Arizona, where they, like, I didn't know they had a naval installation out there, but he's in the Navy, right? And I can come down here and look a lot more. But this person is certainly engaged, right? He's engaged out there. And so I'm not going to go too much further, right? You need to sit there and do your own version of it. But let's say I was doing talent acquisition or staffing or any of that kind of stuff. This guy looks like a perfect person for me to explore. And so I'm going to follow him. This is a great time for me to show you following, right? So here, usually you see connect on the button over here to the left, right? So usually you see connect. Don't connect with anybody unless you know that they want to see your stuff. Instead, because you want to follow Michael and learn more about it, I'm just going to click follow here. And because I did, LinkedIn automatically did this, but you see how it's got the bell? If I click on this bell, I can say I want to see most relevant notifications from Michael, but it's like, no, I think he's a buyer I might be able to use, and softly, to be able to get into the Navy and sell to the Navy. And so I'm going to say, show me all things that happen. And now what's going to happen is anything Michael does will be coming into my feed. This is social media, so it's totally okay. I'm saying I want to see less of John Smith, and I want to see more of Michael. And I did all that in 2 seconds with just finding him, right? And I can follow this thread a lot further if I wanted by going with Michael. But let me come back for a second. Here's his post. And so now what I can see is part of their talent acquisition is recruiting in Navy people, but I'd be curious on whether he's also hiring civilian or whether he's just doing officers and sailors coming in, whatever they call it, the Navy. But I'm able to look at it, right? So I engage if I want. You already know about the engagement. I'm coming down further, right? I'm looking at the U.S. Navy plans to procure some stuff about ships. If I'm in the ship side, if I'm doing parts or whatever, I might quickly click on Michael to see what I see. So he's a Hewlett-Packard. I'm going to back away. Today, I'm not interested in anybody who's out there. Here's a page I can follow. This is always good. And let me show you this one in a second. I'm going to open it up. So this page is very, very small. It's interesting that it has 151 followers. But if I'm trying to do something in Hawaii, Russ might be on our training. If I'm trying to do something in Hawaii, maybe being on the eyes of the commander, or more importantly, the commander's staff, is really helpful. So here I can read their, hey, Gus, look at this. 3D printer solves engineering challenges, right? This is something cool because we have a customer who does additive manufacturing and 3D printing, and they've been trying to get further into the Navy, David, and they would learn more about it. Well, maybe I can follow that thread, right? But here I can see they don't have much engagement. But what I hope to show you was if I looked in here, like right here, electrical engineer at Navy region, I'm instantly able to start piggybacking from that one search for Navy posts in the last 24 hours. I'm able to piggyback and start finding people like Tiffany. She is working for the commander, and she might even be running this web page, which would make sense, right? If I'm running a web page, I'm going to give it the heads up. But I'm able to look and I go, okay, this person's been in the Navy world for a while, right? And so now it's a contact. I can reach out, or maybe I don't reach out right away, right? Social selling is about building up that relationship, having some of those touch points. We call them marketing touch points. So I might do something straightforward like, this, a thumbs up and a comment. No one else has commented. Really appreciate this coming out on LinkedIn. The 3D, sorry it takes so long to type and talk. The 3D printing was a huge piece of info for me, right? And then I do something like this. Thanks. What are these guys called? Thanks, Commander, Navy Region. So down here, I just want to make sure they see it. So Commander, there you go. Thanks, Commander Region. You see how I just engaged that really quick? So now what I'd be willing to bet, if we had enough time, you would see Tiffany will probably come back, right? And if I follow here, if I wanted to, I could click on this and follow her. So now I'm tracking anything else she's putting out. Well, if I'm trying to get into the commander or the Navy region, Hawaii, whatever that is, right? If I'm trying to get in there, I'm building these paths in there through this social selling. Let me close this. Oh, I was just saying here, Commander Navy region, I can come find more stuff they're doing, or I can click in and look at the people. If I just expand this a little bit, I can look in here and see if there's folks that might make sense for me to connect with. No, not really. So I'm going to pause. All right, let me cancel that one. So you see the path I did. Let me zoom out for 1 second. You see what I'm doing here with the outreach, right? If you make a habit of this, and let me go ahead and stop sharing because we're almost out of time and I just want to watch this. If you make a habit of coming to LinkedIn every day, you don't have to do it at the level I do, but if you do 15 minutes a day, literally what I just did took a little longer than 15 minutes because I'm tooling around. but I have done previous LinkedIn training where I show you how you might spend an hour or two for the first couple of weeks to get into a rhythm to find the commander of Hawaii or whatever, those kind of things. But then you can save those as a list. So when you come in every day to LinkedIn, before you look at your feed, you look at that list and you go, have they posted anything new? Let me go engage. Let me see what's going on today with David Waltz. What did he put out there? When you do that, you're social selling. You're building awareness out there. Then as you start posting your own content, LinkedIn will push it out to people, and LinkedIn will actually push it out to some of those people you visit to test whether they would be interested in what you have, right? They'll say to themselves, LinkedIn will say, well, Neil, if you liked all that content going from the Navy, maybe the Navy would like your content. And so they'll push it out and they'll see if they get some engagement. If they do, they'll push it further. And this is all, again, social selling out there. And I really want you to get in this habit as you move forward. Let me give you a couple of things to remember to do every day. The first thing is come in and spend 5 minutes in your feed unfollowing people. No bad blood. It's just unfollowing people who are sharing content that's not helpful to you. For example, if I only want to get into the Army, I don't really need to see what the Department of Education is sharing. If that's in my feed, I can just say unfollow, right? That's totally cool. It's cleaning up your feed. The second thing I want you to do is look at your notifications. As you start following more people, LinkedIn will be sending you messages in your notification area right there on LinkedIn, one of those tabs. Your notification will be bringing that content. Remember, I followed those people. Now I will start seeing their content. And so I can engage that content. I don't have to go out and search for it. Now LinkedIn is bringing it back to me. The last thing I really want to make sure you do, and you can go watch our other training, is if your headline says your job title, then you're not marketing what you could do for the Navy or what you could do for your customers. Change your headline so it reads something like, we provide cybersecurity, or we do construction services, blah, blah, blah. That makes it really easy for somebody to go, oh, there's John Smith. That's what they do. Hopefully this makes sense to you. If it did and you found value in today's training, do me a favor, throw LinkedIn rocks into the chat. And we will see you in the next training. Make sure you come register for the next training, which is tomorrow. And also watch, we're about to drop a huge small business innovation research, like 2 weeks of bringing government program office people in to talk with you. So watch the schedule and make sure you hit the bell for my profile so you get notified. I will talk to you later. Remember, government contracting, it is not a secret. It's just a process.